Hi friends, it's Valerie. Welcome back to this week's What's for Dinner. If you are new here, I'd love if you'd hit that subscribe button and join my YouTube family. And don't forget to leave a like or a comment down below because it really does help my channel. This week I've got 5 meals that I'm showing you of what we ate during the week. And I'm just going to tell you my favorite of the week is going to be a Crockpot Greek chicken. It was so good. If you like Greek or Mediterranean style food, this was so easy and so delicious. Definitely going in my rotation for top favorites. It was so good. Other than that, let's just get to it. I'm cooking up a tray of bacon in the oven, and these are those tri-tip patties. We had to freeze them because we didn't have time to get around to using them, but we finally cooked these up on the grill, and this was just a quick, simple dinner for night of football night here, and had some frozen fries with those, and they were pretty good. I don't know if I'd get them again, but they were great for convenience. I'm going to be cooking up a pack of this pork chorizo. You can of course use whatever meat you like. You can use ground beef, ground turkey, even shredded chicken, or no meat at all. I love me some just bean and topping like tostadas, but I really been loving chorizo with the beans, so I'm cooking up this package just till it's cooked, and then I'm going to go ahead and heat up a can of refried beans. I just used the Rosarita brand. I didn't show you there, but those are the ones I like, and I'm just going to go ahead and like break those up so they can start to warm. Then I'm going to go ahead and add in some milk, just enough to make them nice and creamy and more spreadable, because I want to be able to spread that onto my tostada shells. And I like to season it with some garlic powder, cumin, and onion powder. You definitely don't have to do this, but I really feel like it adds some nice flavor to those beans. And just stir that in and let them go ahead and just heat on up. And fix your toppings. I like cheese, lettuce, onion, jalapeno, tomato, cilantro. And I just put a layer of my beans and chorizo on there, and I serve this up with some rice. This is like an already ready pack of like the Uncle Ben's Spanish rice. I'll show you here in a second, but these are always a hit with us. Just so quick and easy, but filled with so much like flavor. Tostadas, when you put all those toppings, especially with that chorizo, it just gives so much flavor. I'm starting off by prepping my ingredients, so I'm taking 1 cup of Kalamata olives, and next time I'd probably just use the whole like 11-ounce jar or whatever this is. They were really good in it. And then you're going to need a jar of roasted red peppers. Mine was a 7-ounce jar, but the recipe calls for 12 ounces. So if you find a smaller jar, it totally works because it was perfectly fine with the amount that it had. Then you're going to need 1 medium red onion. I had a larger onion, so I just like have a piece of it here, and you're going to go ahead and cut that into some 1/2-inch size chunks. And I'm just going to go ahead and separate all those pieces so they can spread out into the slow cooker a little bit better. And then because of the shape, like the design that kind of went through my onion in the core part, there were some bigger parts, so I just kind of, as I separated, I just kind of broke them up. And now I'm taking about 2 pounds of chicken breast. For me, that was about 4 thin sliced chicken breasts. And I season them with salt and pepper on one side. And then on the other side, I'll go ahead and repeat that, just seasoning them with some salt and pepper. You can add any additional seasonings you like as well. And now I'm going to go ahead and take a measuring cup, and to that I'm going to combine 3 tablespoons of red wine vinegar and then 1 tablespoon or so of minced garlic. I might add a little extra because I do love me some garlic, and then 1 teaspoon of honey. Mine is still crystallized. I'm still using it until it's empty, but I did just buy a new one that is ready to go once this one's done. And then I'm adding in 1 teaspoon of dried oregano and 1 teaspoon of dried thyme. And I'm just going to go ahead and combine that all together. And thankfully the acidity in this for me is going to go ahead and dissolve that honey. If you're in the same situation as I am, you could also heat it up a little bit. And now to a pan, you're going to go ahead and add in some oil. And this is my slow cooker, and it has a stainless steel insert. So I've still been trying out, sauteing and doing things like that, browning meats in here, and I am not a pro at it at all yet. It's still a learning curve, and I haven't cooked enough in it to really get the hang of it quite yet. I have learned though that I need to season it with some extra oil. That really does help. But you're gonna go ahead and brown your chicken on each side for about 1 to 2 minutes, working in batches if you don't have enough space in your pan. You don't want to overcrowd it. And then once you've done that, go ahead and add your chicken to your slow cooker. And then you're going to go ahead and add in your roasted red peppers and your onion. And I think the recipe says to kind of like arrange them around the chicken and not to place on top. Well, I didn't really have a lot of space like around the chicken, so some of it just had to go on top, and in the end it worked out perfectly fine, so it was no big deal. And you're also going to go ahead and add in your Kalamata olives, and then that like marinade we made, just go ahead and pour that over top. And you can cook that on high for 1.5 to 2 hours or low for 3 to 4 hours. I put 4 hours, but I checked it at 3 hours because my chicken is pretty thin. So it was done, and this is what it looks like all done. And I made up some of this rice-a-roni long grain wild rice. I made 2 boxes of that to go on the side. I needed to use it up, and it was a perfect complement to this chicken, and I served that with some pita and hummus. This meal was absolutely amazing. We loved this so much. I put some feta on top of that chicken. This was hands down one of my favorite meals that I've had in a while. I do love Greek food though, so that probably helps that I do love that so much. These flavors were outstanding. To start off, you're going to need 1 green bell pepper. I'm just cutting off the ends, and I'm going to go ahead and take out the core of the bell pepper. And don't throw away the top or the bottom there though, because there's plenty of bell pepper still there that you can use up. And the recipe doesn't say how big of a bell pepper you need, but I'm kind of going with about a medium amount's worth here because we only have 1 pound of meat being used in this. So we don't want to overpower with all bell peppers. And then it calls for 1 small onion. I have a white onion here, so I'm just using that up and dicing that into some small dices here. And I had thought I hit record, but I didn't. So all I'm doing is, in a large skillet here, I've added in my 1 pound of ground beef, and I season it with 1 teaspoon of salt and half a teaspoon of black pepper. And I'm just using my meat chopping tool to go ahead and break that up because I don't like big chunks of ground beef. Then I go ahead and remove the beef from the skillet, and to that I went ahead and added in 2 tablespoons of butter. And once that melted, I'm adding in my diced bell pepper and onion. And the recipe doesn't call for this, but I decided I wanted to add in some sliced mushrooms, so I just went ahead and cleaned those up, and also I'm just going to go ahead and add those in. It also made me realize I should probably add a little extra butter since I'm adding a whole bunch of extra vegetable in there by doing that. So I just went ahead and added in another like tablespoon's worth of butter and let those go ahead and just saute for about 4 to 5 minutes until the onions are translucent and the mushrooms start to soften. And then just go ahead and reduce your heat to low, and you're going to go ahead and add your ground beef back into that pan. And now I'm going to season that with some garlic powder. It calls for a 1/4 teaspoon. I added a whole teaspoon in, and then 1 tablespoon of Worcestershire sauce and 1/2 cup of beef broth. And I'm using just better than bouillon in there. And then I made a cornstarch slurry, but it does call for 1 tablespoon of cornstarch. I used a little bit of the beef broth to make that slurry. This is going to help us thicken up the juices in here. Now I'm going to take some of this provolone cheese. It says you need about 4 slices, and I did go ahead and turn the heat off. And then I'm just going to go ahead and place those provolone slices right on top there. I definitely feel like you could probably get away with using 5. This would definitely make 5 sandwiches. And then you're just going to go ahead and let that cheese melt. You may need to put the lid on your pan to go ahead and help it begin to melt. And then the recipe says to put this on some rolls, but I'm actually just using the hamburger buns that we had the tri-tip burgers with previously because we had leftovers of those still and no point in wasting those. And there it was. I just made some steak fries to go along with this. I was going to make some nice roasted potatoes, but I ran out of time, and it was perfectly fine. I like those steak fries, and this was pretty good. It was I love how quick and easy it was. It was different from your typical sloppy Joe, and I really like the addition of the mushrooms. For this recipe, you're going to want to go ahead and cook up some farro. So you're going to need about 1 cup of uncooked farro, which will turn into 3 cups of cooked farro. I'm using this quick cook farro, so it cooks in 10 minutes or so. Whatever package you're using, just follow the directions on that. And once you're done, just go ahead and drain that. And then to a large skillet, I'm going to go ahead and add in 2 tablespoons of olive oil. And I'm using these packets of like freezable garlic and ginger, and they just pop out like little cubes. I'm adding 3 of the garlic and 2 of the ginger. And then I'm going to go ahead and add in 1 cup of finely cut up green onions. Mine might be a little bit I didn't really measure it, it just looked about a cup's worth. And I'm gonna go ahead and begin to saute that with the garlic and the ginger, and that is going to also start to defrost those little cubes. So I'm kind of breaking them up as I go there, as I stir them together, and this is going to become nice and fragrant. You're just doing this for about a minute, and then you'll need some frozen peas and carrots. I only had a small amount, and then I had to use a can. You'll need 1 cup each of peas, carrots, and corn. The corn is fine in the can, but I would definitely recommend, if you can, to use the frozen for the peas and carrots, especially with those peas. It's just not quite the texture I would have liked coming for a fried rice. I would definitely like the frozen vegetables for that. And now you're going to need a 1/2 cup of soy sauce. I've heard great things about this ABC medium, like sweet soy sauce, and it is very thick, and I got it from an Asian market, and so I tasted it. It was maybe a little sweeter than I would have liked, like to control the whole flavor in this. So I added 1/2 of the amount of that and so a 1/4 cup of that and a 1/4 cup of regular soy sauce. And now I just added that into those vegetables, and I'm just giving that a stir. I pushed those vegetables aside, and now I'm adding in a pound of shrimp. Mine were very large shrimp, so I did cut them in half, and I'm seasoning them with some Old Bay there to just bring out that seafood flavor. And I'm gonna go ahead and spread those out into that sauce and let them cook for about 5 minutes or so until they're cooked all the way through. And if you're not a seafood person, don't worry, don't skip out on this recipe just because it's using shrimp. You can definitely substitute this with some chicken and it will be just as delicious. I just was really craving shrimp here, and so that's why I had looked up this recipe, but don't be afraid to swap that out for some chicken, pork, things like that. And I love that this is using farro, because farro has that little bit of a bite to it because it's like a grain, and so you don't have to have it cold to begin with. You can just cook the farro up and don't have to like wait till the next day for cold rice and such. But yeah, so I'm just gonna go ahead and stir that farro in with the vegetables. Now I do feel like this is a little bit overpowering on the sauce, and I don't know if it's because I substituted that ABC soy sauce that was very thick. So next time I'd either try starting off with a 1/4 cup instead of a 1/2 cup of soy sauce, and then just add more if I feel necessary. So definitely try doing that if you're not huge on having too much soy sauce in your dishes. And I just made up some zucchini in the air fryer. I use the blend and the red garlic just to season that up, and this was delicious. It really hit that craving I was wanting for that shrimp fried rice, and like I said, I really loved it with the farro, and zucchini on the side is just always a plus for me. And like I said, next time I make this, the only thing I will change is to cut back on the sauce just to start off with in case, and then I will make sure to have frozen peas because they were a little bit too on the soft, mushy side for my liking when it came to this dish. Thank y'all so much for watching. Don't forget to hit that subscribe button and that little bell so you don't miss out on any future videos, and I hope you all are having an amazing day.